All right, I think everything's working. So we're broadcasting to you semi-live from Washington, D.C., just a 5 mile walk from the embassy to Uzbekistan. So if things go pear-shaped, we can always get to Uzbekistan. It was interesting coming into this city last night. You know, it's if you've never been to Washington, it's an impressive place. You know, it really is. You drive in and you see the beautiful mall, you see the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument and the Capitol kind of stretched out uh, across the city. It really is a nice place, and you sort of have that sense, especially if you live in California where nothing seems real. You think like, oh yeah, all this really there actually was a Lincoln and there actually was a Washington. All this stuff that we're yelling and arguing about actually had a source and people who took it seriously. It reminded me of it's just a beautiful view. And it reminded me of an old 19th century hymn that has the line, "Every prospect pleases and only man is vile." In other words, the view is great, but people stink, you know, and which in turn that line reminded me of the opening of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. If you remember, Jimmy Stewart is this kind of yokel, a kind of Boy Scout who gets through a series of ridiculous events, gets swept up into becoming a senator. And he's a real believer in all the American ideals. And he goes to Washington. There's this long montage of him looking at all the monuments, just so inspired by the words there and by the face of Abraham Lincoln and the people coming to visit the monuments. And then, of course, for the rest of the picture, he discovers that Washington is a sewer of corruption and thieves and criminals. And so, you know, every prospect pleases and only man is vile. And that's it's kind of like represents both of those works of art kind of represent the distance between principle and humanity. The monuments kind of represent the principles that we stand for, and the people here, as we know, suck and are a swamp. But you know, I always think when I'm talking about the government, we shouldn't judge people in government too harshly, because when you judge people for abandoning their principles too harshly, what you really are is you're judging yourself too well. Because it's easy to have principles sitting here behind a microphone. It's easy to have principles on your couch. It's not easy when your career depends on it, when your job depends on it, when your love life or your family depends on it. And that's what you're watching with these guys. These guys are fighting, these political guys are fighting for their lives every day. And one of the things that always is so shocking about Donald Trump is that he's obviously not a man of principle, aside from the principle of winning, and he doesn't pretend to be. And that's the real question with Donald Trump, is not whether, if not pretending to have principles, does that make him worse than everybody else in Washington, or does it actually make him more honest than everybody else in Washington? As we're watching this FBI scandal unfold, and it's getting worse by the day, it really is, and watching the Democrats scramble to cover it up and the press scramble to cover it up, I really think that maybe Donald Trump is just kind of doesn't wear the mask of Washington. And I don't know if that makes him better or worse or just scary. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, it's mailbag day. That means all your questions will be answered. Answers are guaranteed 100% correct and will change your life on occasion for the better. Got some really good questions in there. You have to subscribe to be in the mailbag. Go to dailywire.com and subscribe. Otherwise, you won't even be able to watch the mailbag. And God, it's a visual spectacular, as you know. You won't be able to see it if you're on Facebook and YouTube. You'll have to come over to thedailywire.com and hear the rest. I think you can hear the rest on YouTube as well, but you won't be able to watch it unless you subscribe for a lousy $10 a month or $100 for the year, and then you get the Leftist Tears tumbler. I wish I had it with me. All I have is this poor cup of coffee to get me through the day, but I'll look forward to returning to my Leftist Tears. Valentine's Day is coming, and I know for many of you guys, that's just a nightmare because you thought Valentine's Day is coming. But women know it's coming. You know it's coming. And maybe you're thinking, oh, I'll get my boyfriend something sweet like a box of chocolates or a teddy bear or something like that. He's going to hate that. Let me just be blunt. He'll hate it. Go to mancrates.com, get him a man crate. It comes, here's the thing, it comes in a big wooden box that you have to tear apart with like a crowbar. So it doesn't matter what's inside it. I mean, that's the whole thing. The whole thing is the crate and the crowbar. And if you want to get it wrapped, you can get it wrapped with duct tape. And he'll love it already. And then when he opens it up, there's all kinds of things curated, especially for the kind of guy you happen to have in your home. You might want to check to see what kind of guy you have in your home. But you can get some, NFL barware crate, the whiskey appreciation crate. That's the one I got. I love my whiskey appreciation crate. I actually have asked for another one. I liked it so much. I've asked for a puzzle one because I'm a big puzzle fan, and that hasn't arrived yet, but I'm looking forward to ripping it open. I may just rip this one open with my teeth. I mean, that's how much fun these things are. And if you go to mancrates.com/Klavan, you can get 5% off. And I know what you're thinking. Give me that box because my guy is going to love tearing this thing apart. But how do you spell Klavan? It's Klavan at mancrates.com/Klavan. You'll get 5% off. They do not offer a discount anywhere else. So you get 5% off right now at mancrates.com/Klavan, mancrates.com/Klavan. Tell them I sent you so we can continue to keep this show on the air. And I love doing Man Crates ads anyway, so that'll be fun as well. All right. So, last year I was here, and I'm here for the prayer breakfast, which is last year was a really nice occasion. Senators, congressmen, and the president and vice president get together and discuss God. And last year there was kind of this really funny thing that happened. It was Trump's first prayer breakfast. And this Senate chaplain, this very impressive Navy admiral named Barry Black, got up and gave this beautiful stem-winding speech that had everybody on their on their feet shouting hallelujah, their hands in the air. And then Trump got up and he hadn't learned yet. It was like a guy who didn't know which fork to use. He hadn't learned yet the tone of the event. And he came out and he said, prayer, I know who they should pray for. They should pray for Arnold Schwarzenegger because he took over the Apprentice and his ratings are tanking. And it was just like you just wanted to put your hands over your face because you just realized the guy just hadn't caught the tone of it. Now, I keep saying Trump is a guy who learns that stuff, and I'm sure this year that's not going to happen. I'm sure he will capture the tone perfectly. I bet he does. But, does that mean that he has now learned to take things seriously that he didn't take seriously before? That's kind of hard to believe. I mean, what he has learned is how to be president a little bit. He has learned, that there are certain things you don't say, you don't make fun of God, you don't make jokes. People are serious about their God in America. We are serious about our Constitution. We're serious about our traditions. And Trump just hadn't captured that. It just wasn't something that he's learned. And this is the thing that the left is selling as a catastrophe for our country. Remember, yesterday we played Chuck Schumer. Oh my gosh, this is the worst man ever to ever be president. But he's not. He's not. He's not the worst man ever to ever be president. He's just a guy who doesn't pretend to be a better man than he is. And that is unnerving even to me. I mean, this is something that I think everybody finds a little unnerving, to have a president who doesn't really follow the script for what he's supposed to take seriously, what he's supposed to be solemn about. But, it's hard for me to really wail. I think it's hard for a lot of us to wail about this when we see that our last president, who did have that master, who did know what to say, he did know the tone to take and how to talk and all this, was actually a deeply corrupt guy. Was running a government that was deeply corrupt. And as I keep saying, it wasn't corrupt in the Clinton way where he was running it for money and trying to rip people off or anything like that. He had principles. We were talking about principles. Barack Obama had principles. They happened to be terrible principles, but he was so sure of the rightness of his principles, he was willing to abuse the levers of power to make sure that nobody got in his way. So yesterday, with all the just among the scandals that were taking place, there were more memos from Romeo Struck and Juliet Page, the lover, the FBI, those star-crossed FBI lovers whose way just never, they never saw the way forward. But they were sending all these memos back and forth, and they hated Trump and they wanted to stop him. And at one point, about 2 months before the presidential election, Lisa Page, who was sleeping with Strzok, she wrote to him and said she was working on a memo for then FBI Director James Comey about everything that was happening in the Hillary Clinton email investigation because, quote, Obama wants to know everything that we're doing. So why is that important? That is important because a few months before that, Obama was on TV and he said this. This is cut number 16.
Can you guarantee to the American people, can you direct the Justice Department to say Hillary Clinton will be treated as the evidence goes. She will not be in any way protected?
I can guarantee that. And I can guarantee that not because I give Attorney General Lynch a directive. That is institutionally how we have always operated. I do not talk to the Attorney General about pending investigations. I do not talk to FBI directors about pending investigations. We have a strict line and always have maintained it, previous presidents.
Just to button this up.
I guarantee it.
You
I guarantee that there is no political influence in any investigation conducted by the Justice Department or the FBI, not just in this case, but in any case.
And she will be
full stop, period.
And she will be treated no differently?
Guaranteed, full stop. Nobody gets treated differently when it comes to the Justice Department.
He lied. He lied. He sat there. He lied like a dog. And the thing is, while he was lying like a dog, he sounded very presidential. He sounded a lot more presidential than Trump has ever learned to sound. And that really does make a difference. You know, I don't know what Obama, I can't look into Obama's soul. I can't know what he believed in, but he professed Christianity, and yet I almost never heard him say anything positive about Christianity, whereas Donald Trump has said things that to any Christian just sound ridiculous. Like at one point during the campaign, he said he didn't need God's forgiveness. He just tried to live so that he didn't need forgiveness. And of course, we all know that that's just not Christian doctrine. So it's weird. It is weird to have a president who's standing up for religious rights, who's defending religious rights, and who's speaking now, learning to speak these words, but who obviously doesn't believe in things. But it's no weirder than it was before with Barack Obama. And so what you're really seeing is a battle for your mind, for your imagination. You're seeing one side, the left, trying to implant in your mind that this is a break with what has happened before, because it sounds like a break sometimes the way Trump talks. It's a break and it's a catastrophe, and they want you to be thinking in catastrophic terms. They want you to be thinking in terms of crisis. They want you to be thinking that everything that happens is a break from the past. So, I mean, for instance, yesterday there was this story, and I feel two ways about the story. There's a story that Trump was asking the military to prepare a big military parade in Washington. And, it goes right up my spine. As an American, I do not want I love the military. I'm so appreciative of what they do. I talk about it all the time. I'm glad they pay tribute to them at the Super Bowl. I'm glad they pay tribute to them on TV. I'm glad there are commercials about them. I don't want to see like big tanks driving down Pennsylvania Avenue. Although it would be funny if somebody like a mascot dressed up in the big red button that Trump was going to press to blow up North Korea. That would be kind of funny if there maybe a couple of girls, dressed in tights and with a big red button on their head. That might be really interesting. But no, I actually don't think that's a good idea. I don't even know. I think maybe Trump is trolling people because he must have known the way they were going to react. I was in a bar here last night and I got stuck watching CNN, which really is an experience. They are amazing. So here is CNN talking about this idea of having a military parade. And just listen to the way they're trying to instill panic in your mind.
We're getting more North Korean every day in this country. I mean, yesterday the president says people who don't cheer are un-American and treasonous. And today we're going to start having big parades with tanks and missiles. People have to decide whether they want to have that kind of country. I mean, we have a country where we celebrate our troops, as Barbara said, when they come home from battle in Lower Manhattan, and we throw ticker tape. But the idea in peacetime, simply to have tanks roll through the streets of Washington, that's, to use a phrase that the president likes to use, in my experience, that's un-American.
So it's un-American. It's North Korean. We're turning into North Korean. Like I said, I don't like the idea that much either. But the idea that this is authoritarian, where is the beef on this authoritarian thing? Where's the panic coming from for a guy who's cutting the government, who's actually dialed back executive power, even his own power? He's dialed it back. So You heard the crack he made about Trump talking about treason. If you didn't see this clip, I always like Trump's antic humor. You know, he has this antic New York sense of humor that I can kind of identify with. So he was he was playing up the fact that the Democrats made fools of themselves during the State of the Union address, and that they sat on their hands for the flag and for God and for better wages and better jobs and all this stuff. So he was making fun of that, and somebody called out and said it was treason. He picked up on that. Here's that quote. Here's that cut. That's what is it, number? You guys find it. Oh, no.
They would rather see Trump do badly, okay, than our country do well. That's what it means. It's very selfish. And it got to a point where I really didn't even want to look too much during the speech over to that side, because honestly, it was bad energy. No, it was bad energy. You're up there. You've got half the room going totally crazy, wild. They loved everything. They want to do something great for our country. And you have the other side, even on positive news, really positive news like that, they were like death and un-American. Un-American. Somebody said treasonous. I mean, yeah, I guess why not? You know. Can we call that treason? Why not?
I love it. Later, the White House did say they were joking, but that was not enough to stop the panic. If you are planning to learn something new this year or any time, you might want to check out Skillshare.com. I have been using it. You know, the thing about Skillshare, what it is an online learning platform with over 18,000 classes in all kinds of things: design, business, technology, anything you might want to pick up as an extra part of your career or a new career or just a hobby or something like that. There's probably something in there for you. And it's experts in the field who come in and they teach a series of classes. And I've used them. I've used them on writing. I've used them on marketing. I've used them on podcasting just to test them out sometimes. And the good thing about them is, they're entertaining. The people know what they're doing. They know how to speak and they teach well. And they're really useful. You really do pick up stuff that you might want to learn, new skills. And it's coming at you really cheap. They have, what did I use it for? I said this before when I did Another Kingdom. I used it for podcasting because I thought, where are all those people who put this wonderful podcast on the air? Suddenly I was on my own. So Skillshare was really helpful with all these things. And I tested out the writing one just to see what it was like. And it really was stuff I wish I had known when I was starting out. If you want to join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer, which is just for my listeners, you can get 2 months of Skillshare for just 99 cents. That is really a good deal. Before they were giving away a short period for free, but 99 cents is virtually for free, and you get 2 months. It's for people who listen to the show. It's unlimited access to all of the classes, over 18,000 classes. And to sign up, you go to Skillshare.com/Andrew. And you know how to spell that, right? Skillshare.com/Andrew. Go to Skillshare.com/Andrew, and you can start your 2 months now. And it really is entertaining. It's just worth testing it out. I mean, you can go on the site for free and test it out, and then sign up for 99 cents and really get all the benefits. All right. So he says that's thing treason, and he slipped into it while they were calling out him. It's a terrible thing to say. But of course, the press goes insane. The New York Times, it must have filled up their pages yesterday and today. Oh my gosh, the president is calling us treason just for disagreeing. Now it's treason just for disagreeing. Jeff Flake, who I swear, Senator Jeff Flake is auditioning for a CNN job. I swear he is. Why he is standing up in the Senate, like making these speeches against the president, against his own party. He's got to be he wants to be one of those. He's a Republican, and he's hating Republicans too. So he got up and said this about Trump's remarks.
I have seen the president's most ardent defenders use the now weary argument that the president's comments were meant as a joke, just sarcasm, only tongue-in-cheek. But treason is not a punchline, Mr. President.
Oh, I don't know. It depends on the joke, right? Like, what has branches and calls you dad? A treason. Never mind. But you know, the Democrats and the press have been using this forever. When Donald Trump Jr., when it was revealed he took that meeting, all we heard was treason. We actually put together a treason montage. Here's cut 14. Listen to this.
You said earlier that this borders on treason. Does that mean that Paul Manafort, Jared Kushner are bordering on treason as well, as along with Don Jr., and then also that Michael Flynn is bordering on treason, and that the president himself is bordering on treason?
But raising the question of possible treason.
I haven't talked about treason before, but we're getting close to that.
And we can also say that Donald Trump Jr., what he did was a threat to our democracy and borderline treason.
There's outright treason. I mean, there is no question that what he is doing is giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
You told the Washington Post last week that, quote, there's a smell of treason in the air.
Well, you know, a lot of people are afraid to use the T word, treason, but in the end, that's what people are investigating.
That is potentially a violation of the Espionage Act. Yes, treason.
So again and again, we get the double standard when Trump is, you know, and the question is, look, after a year in which Trump has delivered on a lot of really good conservative, agenda items, the really question is Trump really different, or is it just they're selling him to us as a catastrophe? I mean, why isn't it a catastrophe when they do it? When he, and it is a catastrophe when he does it. And some Republicans on the other side, they have another argument, which is really interesting. Jeremy Boring made it at our State of the Union. The God King of the Daily Wire made the kind of this argument at our State of the Union, jamboree that we were doing. And I've heard others make this among the kind of what used to be called the Never Trump. Now they bridle when you call them Never Trump, but the anti-Trump Republicans. Their argument is that, yes, Democrats do this stuff, but we're the good guys and we're supposed to do better stuff, and we're not doing it. And of course, the argument against that is, yes, but you got to fight in the playing field that you're in. My own feeling, I've said this before, is that Trump's rudeness, his insensibility, his lack of a solemnity about American principle have actually been useful in breaking out of the mind prison of political correctness and putting the press on the defensive, which really the Republicans have needed to do for a long time. But like everything comes with a price. Nothing is free. And this administration is bringing everybody down to that same level. There's now nobody speaking at the level of the people I saw in those monuments of Lincoln and Washington. You know, that's not happening anymore. But and look, this is the culture. This is the culture the left helped to create. You know, the culture that made Trump and that Trump helped make is a culture that the left was almost entirely in control of. And so it's almost as if they set off a nuclear bomb and then this Godzilla of a president came and started tearing apart their city. And, you know, they really did create the thing that they hate so much. And they're still doing it. They're still fighting for your imagination. They do this every day, and they do it better than we do it. You know, this was on MRC, this site I love, the Media Research Council, and they or is it Center? I always get it wrong. But there's a show on television that was just showing some of the shows that are on television. And one that just caught my eye is a show that is called The Mick. And it's about these Irish guys, I guess in Boston, I think. And they're just showing you how they're selling you like godlessness. They're telling you it's smart and progressive not to believe in God. Listen closely to this dialogue. This is a comedy show, and it's about they take their little kid to church. It's cut 3. And just listen to what they're selling you. And they're doing this all the time.
I don't get it. The show's over. Where's God?
He's everywhere.
Why can't we see him? I just wanted to say hi.
Well, you can, you know? He's in that candle right there.
So God lives inside the candle?
Well, he's not literally inside of it. I mean, the candle represents God's presence in the church.
So they built this whole house for a candle to live in.
Well, no, I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous, but...
Has anybody even seen God?
Okay, Ben, you're seeing God, all right? He's in the candle.
I don't think I believe in God.
Psycho.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel right.
No. It sounds smart and progressive when we say it, but we're adults. He's a kid. He's not ready for that yet.
At that age, you gotta be terrified of something to keep you from becoming a jackass.
We gotta nip this in the bud.
You know, people who make jokes about Arnold Schwarzenegger at prayer breakfast are created by culture like that. And, the reason they want your imagination is because your imagination is where your life begins. The things that you become begin in your imagination. The things that you imagine that are happening are the way you behave. You remember yesterday we played that hilarious cut, and it really was hilarious, of Hillary Clinton saying that climate change was going to affect women more than men. She had this picture of women in this desert wilderness gathering grass for people to eat, and, all doing all these chores of like finding extracting the food out of the ground. I don't remember what she was saying, but it was just hilarious. It was like this Mad Max world that the left imagines is coming if we don't do everything they say and essentially turn over our energy supplies and all that power over to the left. The New York Times, see, just to show you how that imagination affects people, the New York Times, which is a former newspaper, you may have heard of it, they wrote an article the other day saying that people are not having children, that the birth rate has gone down because of fears of global warming. And they had these quotes in it. I know that humans are hardwired to procreate, said one woman, but my instinct now is to shield my children from the horrors of the future by not bringing them into the world. Some maternal protectiveness for it. I'm going to shield my children by not having any children. Here's another one. I've seen how Syrian refugees who are running from a devastating war are being treated. Imagine how my children will be treated if they have to flee their country due to extreme weather, drought, lack of resources, flooding. This is the imagination of the left, and it has an effect, and they're selling it to you every day. They're selling it to you with every little panicky report from CNN, with every television show that tells you there's no God, it's hip and cool to not believe. Everything they sell you is selling you this disaster scenario that you have no control over, and there's nobody there to help. Don't even have kids. Don't even, just get rid of the human race altogether. It matters what's in your imagination, and they know it. I wish we did too. Speaking of the imagination, you may imagine how terrified you're going to be when you wake up one day and find out it's Valentine's Day. And there's your girlfriend or your wife sitting there with that expectant little smile, her lips trembling, a little tear on the side, just waiting for you to deliver it. And you think, like, Valentine's Day? I didn't know it was Valentine's Day. That's why you should go on 1-800-Flowers.com. 1-800-Flowers always has your back in these situations. And right now, you can get 18 enchanted roses for only $29.99. Now, you're hoping, of course, that an enchanted rose is a rose that helps you put a spell on your girlfriend so she'll actually like you as much as she says she does. But no, enchanted roses are these beautiful pink and red roses. You can get them for only $29.99 at 1-800-Flowers. And if you get them now, what you want to do is you want to get them early, and then 1-800-Flowers, they will deliver them, but they're picked at their peak and shipped overnight on the date you want to ensure freshness and her delight. 18 enchanted roses for only $29.99. It's a steal, but your time is running out. It's already the 7th. I know on February 14th is Ash Wednesday, so you're going to be in church all day. So you want to do this now. And to order 18 enchanted roses for only $29.99, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code Klavan. And you're thinking, how do I spell icon? Who cares? You just have to click it. But then you have to enter KLAVAN. Valentine's Day is almost here, so order today at 1-800-Flowers.com, code Klavan. The mailbag is coming up. It is here, in fact. But if you're on YouTube or Facebook, we got to say goodbye. Come on over to thedailywire.com. You can listen to the rest of the show. I think you can listen to the rest of it on YouTube as well. But if you subscribe, not only can you watch the whole show at thedailywire.com, but you can also be in the mailbag. All your problems will be solved. Answers guaranteed 100% correct, and will change your life on occasion for the better.